both sides of what everybody's presenting here tonight. As far as the solicitor, I work with Mr. Hauser. Found him to be very informative, and yes, maybe he might not be the face for ELCO, but I do believe that the firm is just, I mean, what we needed for everything that we went through, hiring a superintendent, dealing with the intermediate school that was built that I was opposed to, by the way. Anyway, it's fair. Yeah, I mean, but he was still a face. I had to work with him. I found him very informative. He was very polite to me, but there again, maybe other people he didn't find. I don't know, on the school board. I don't know where to go with that, but just putting it out there. This young lady, I want to make a comment to you in regards to the locker room. I was driving here tonight. My daughter's a cheerleader. You might know her, Emily Ball. Okay. We stopped at the intersection and we had a nice little chat, and she said, Mom, tonight there might be somebody representing us in regards to getting us a bigger school locker room for the girls. In agreement, it would be wonderful. I know that there's been a storage issue with her bag for cheerleading. Not only that, but she's got a big megaphone that has to come into school and be stored. And you know, there are issues. I'm sure that, you know, stealing phones or cords or whatever, things get stepped on. So I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you represented the girls tonight. As far as this gentleman back here, Mr. Landis, this summer I was hearing rumors about a new school. Again, being on the school board, we heard a lot of things. A lot were untrue. I needed the facts, and I got the facts. The real issue was that this school has been needing a new roof for a very long time. I know the heating system is bad. So what you might have heard or where you got your information, it kind of boils down to getting the facts before, like, you jump to conclusions that we're knocking down this school and building a new one. It would be unlikely after the big episode we had at the IS. Again, like I said, I was for keeping Schaeferstown and Myerstown schools. I believe that they could have been revamped. I think they got overlooked. And it was a shame that they are no longer part of our school district. But as progression, everybody has to move on. So, in conclusion, I just appreciate everybody listening to me here tonight. A little nervous, but I get to speak out loud too often. And thank you.
Just give a recap of my 100-mile bike ride with a couple of state senators. It was a thoroughly enjoyable experience in that we had a contingent of state police on motorcycles for the whole 100 miles. So if you see me, you get kind of used to going through red lights and stop signs. So if you see me riding through Schaeferstown, going through all the stop signs, it's because I rode 100 miles and we didn't stop for anyone. It was enjoyable. I can say that there were no great revelations in talking to Joe Scarnati and Mike Stack, who's the lieutenant governor. I asked them about Common Core because it's an issue that has bothered some of us here for many years. I don't particularly care for the concept, and the reaction that I got from them is probably going to be around for a while unless there's regime change in Washington. That the governor favors PA Common Core standards, and it's probably going to stay around. which is something that is going to really affect the remodeling, not rebuilding, not building a new building, but the remodeling of this facility. There is $300 million that is in the current budget that is actually funded for projects that are in place and for school districts that are looking for reimbursement. There's an additional $2.5 billion in bonds that have been floated to take care of existing projects as well. So I asked Drew, who's this chief of staff for Mr. Scarnati, I said, what does it look like? He said, well, it looks kind of shaky when you look beyond 4 years. So that reimbursement, that could be 20 to 25% for us, is currently in question. There are some groups in the state who are trying to revamp the PlanCon system because it's very awkward. There are a lot of rules. Part of the rules is the survey, that the health study that we have to do that you asked about, where we have to study the population, the potential growth, and we can't do anything. And there's so many parts to PlanCon, it's very complicated. I asked Joe Scarnati, I said, what do you think about, what does the future look like for PlanCon? The first thing he said, I profess to know very little about PlanCon because it is so complicated. So right now the status is there's a study group, there's a moratorium on all new funding for construction. And there's a study group that is expected to have a ruling on the future, whether it's going to be a new form, which is called ACT. I won't go into that, but there's a new form of it which is more user-friendly for the school districts. And the Democrats favor that, the governor favors that. So I think there'll be some changes. What I did see on the ride is I saw Stack, who's a damn really nice guy, he's kind of like a surfer dude, working with Joe Scarnati, and I think there's a lot of bipartisanship that potentially can happen in Harrisburg. And the last thing I asked about was the prevailing wage rule, which let's take a number. Let's say that this renovation costs $20 million. If we didn't have to pay union wages for this renovation, it would probably shave off 30% because it would be free market. And when I asked them about that, I said, when are you going to bring this up? And they really don't want to touch it because unless it was some piece of a negotiating deal that they could pull it away, it's just, there's just too many factors that they're not going to deal with it. So I don't see anything happening with that. And that could really directly affect us. So if you run into anyone and any of your legislators, we need to put pressure on them to deal with things like prevailing wage and, to have a solution for PlanCon, something that's simpler, not as heavy of a burden. Because it took us forever to get the reimbursement for the IS school. I think we just got it last year, right?
Not all of it.
Years later. I think we got all of it, right?
We got our back pay.
We got our back pay.
After the back pay. Then we get our current year.
So these are the factors that concern me. I didn't come away feeling real good about it, but felt good about the bike ride, and the raising money for kids. So it was a merging of my passion for bicycling and doing good for kids. So we raised over $100,000 for the Children's Hospital.
Any other business? inequities, if you will, of, the locker room situation.
Yeah, this probably occurred when they moved all the sports to the fall. Because our concern was gonna be how it was gonna impact girls' sports, because were soccer and field hockey gonna be able to coexist? Because you had girls before that played both, now they have to choose. We are healthy here with our female athletes. So what we need to do is just take a look, and I'll get with the athletic director, and we'll take a look at Title IX and how it applies. This could also be something that, if we move forward with an architect, is look at the size of the locker rooms based on the, not only the population of the athletes, but also the equipment of the athletes. And, you know, we do have a golfer, a female golfer, and she's doing very well this year. But her equipment isn't like a football player's. Where field hockey is more comparable because it's not just a stick. And the goalie pads are probably the size of that podium there. So we have to look at both the size for the students and for the equipment to make sure we have equity. It's all about equity. So that's what we'll be looking at. So I appreciate the 120 signatures you got, and your voice has been loudly heard.
Thank you.
And I'll be getting back to you personally, along with Mrs. Haas.
Any other old business?
I want to congratulate the boys and girls teams on thrilling one-goal victories over Cedar Crest and Ritter Hall Kentucky this weekend. It's very nice. It was very exciting, very well attended, and exciting soccer. So good job for both of them bringing the cup back home.
I thought the football team, I know we lost,
Oh, we played well though.
but I thought we did too.
The band was very good too.
And we had a wonderful crowd. Oh, goodness, it was fabulous.
And the
Little hot.
cheerleading assistants that we have,
Excuse me?
the cheerleading
Oh,
assistants.
marvelous job. I
always
could
fun.
hear that, the magnitude of the voices was
The
greatly
parents.
enhanced. Thank you, Kathy.
Nice job, Kat.
Thanks.
And all who participated. Hey, there were some very good sports.
Let's talk a minute, about the architect RFP, just, for a moment, just from a timing perspective. So next board meeting, we'll get some feedback. Presumably, we vote at the second board meeting in October. Then what? What happens?
We will need to meet with the architect to develop a timeline and go
Okay.
from there, but it will depend on the program we go forward with, so
And how do we do that? Who does that?
we'll bring them in for a board meeting to
Okay,
be
so
able to
we'll
do
bring
that.
them in, we'll have a discussion, we'll work through timeline.
Correct.
And so, the reason I'm
That would
asking,
actually,
I'm just trying to
it
understand.
would be a general services committee.
Okay. So I'm just trying to get a grasp of what level of engagement the board has versus the administration after